Okay, so we are going to discuss Israel and Palestine. Israel is originally formulated under the idea of Zionism. Zionism is this belief in the creation of a Jewish state of Israel, and it is the product of looking for an independent homeland. Jewish people across Europe had historically been driven out and subject to anti-Semitism and purges in different regions. So eventually, the Zionistic Jews are looking for a homeland of their own. And a lot of Jewish people had gone to Palestine because it was significant to Jewish history in terms of religion. Unfortunately, the area in Palestine is also significant to other religions as well, Christianity, Muslims. That whole area of the world is where people argue that the Bible is from. It's where the Garden of Eden was. So the area of Palestine and Jerusalem and that area is not just significant to Jewish history, which matters very, very much in the conflict that will arise. And so before Zionism takes hold as the concept to create the Jewish state of Israel, Jewish people are already moving to Palestine. And in the early 1900s, a lot of Jewish people had been buying land for Jewish settlements in Palestine. They were not looking to necessarily create their independent state of Israel yet, but they were buying land because they'd been driven out of Russia, they'd been driven out of Eastern Europe. And again, during World War I, the British pledged to help the Jewish people establish a national home in Palestine as long as they will support them fighting off the Ottomans. But the British also promised the ruler of Mecca, Sharif Hussein, that they would help set up independent Arab states across all of the Arab areas of the Ottoman Empire, again, in exchange for a rebellion force to fight the Ottomans. This is where the biggest issue starts, I would say, in my professional opinion. This promise from Britain to the Jewish people and to the Arab nation is the triggering event for the conflict, because you cannot promise the Jewish people a national home in Palestine and also promise the Arab people that they can set up Arab independent states, because Palestine cannot be both a national home to the Jewish people and an independent Arab state. So, British promises this in 1917. We know that they get the support from people and they drive out the Ottomans, and then the war ends. During the end of World War I and the period between World War I and the start of World War II, the Zionistic population in Palestine rises significantly, about 30%. So in 1922, the Jewish population in Palestine was 84,000. By 1939, the Jewish population in Palestine is 445,000. Of course, if you're following the world history trends, we know that people are fleeing Europe. Jewish people are fleeing Europe because they're being persecuted, and they are going to be continually persecuted. So they are heading to Palestine to save themselves, and also because this was the place that they were allowed to go. And then again, World War II happened, so nobody's really dealing with whatever's going on in Palestine and Israel because the Jewish people are being persecuted in Europe and there's not a lot of movement. However, when World War II ends, the European nations, and the Germans especially, there has to be somewhere for all the Jewish people to go. And a lot of them have been displaced because of the war. And so they had been sent to all of the camps. And those who survived didn't have a home to go back to. And a lot of Jewish people then go to or attempt to go to this new region in Palestine called Israel, because that is their Jewish state. And the US decides in 1947 that we are going to commit to the Zionist cause of creating the Jewish state of Israel. At the same time, Britain announces that they will be leaving Palestine within the year. And all of those agreements that they made during World War I with the Zionists and making an independent Jewish state, and the Mecca, the ruler of Mecca, Sharif Hussein, that's gone because Britain doesn't want to deal with it. And so when Britain decides to leave Palestine, they turn control over to the United Nations. And they say, it is up to the United Nations to partition the land between the Arabs and the Jewish people in Palestine, and the United Nations can determine what's going to be an Arab state and what's going to be Israel. Now, the Arab majority in Palestine is upset about this. They don't want to become a minority population. And a lot of the Arab majority in the area feel that if Israel is created, that the Arab nation and the Arab people living there will be subject to the minority population control of the region, and this is going to lead to a lot of instability. And foreshadowing is a beautiful thing, and so we are going to discuss how the Arab-Israel war plays out and how Israel is created in the next video, because it's just a little bit longer than the time we have left here.